Canada has agreed to allow up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles into the Canadian market, with the most favored nation tariff rate of 6.1%. In 3 years, this agreement will drive considerable Chinese investment in Canada's auto sector, creating good careers in Canada and accelerating our progress towards a net zero future and the auto industry of the future. And by March the 1st, Canada expects that China will lower tariffs on Canadian canola seed to a combined rate of approximately 15%.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced a major reset in Canada's relationship with China, signaling a strategic move away from heavy dependence on the United States. Speaking in Beijing, Carney confirmed a preliminary but landmark trade agreement aimed at ending the trade dispute between the two countries, with China agreeing to remove retaliatory tariffs on Canadian canola meal, lobsters, crabs, and peas starting March 1st, and to reduce tariffs on canola seed to around 15%. In return, Canada will allow Chinese electric vehicles back into its market under a strict cap, accounting for less than 3% of Canada's auto sector, restoring levels seen 2 years ago. Following his meeting with Xi Jinping, Carney also announced that Canadians will be allowed to travel to China without a visa, marking a significant diplomatic thaw. When questioned about his earlier statement calling China Canada's biggest security threat, Carney avoided a direct answer, but emphasized that Canada continues to stand firmly for human rights, democracy, territorial integrity, and self-determination, while engaging pragmatically with the world as it is, calibrating its engagement with countries like China according to Canadian values and national interests.
Prime Minister Mark Carney said that Canada's evolving relationship with China has become more predictable than its current relationship with the United States, as his government ushers in what it calls a new era of trade with Beijing. Under the preliminary agreement, Canada will remove its 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, while China will sharply reduce duties on Canadian canola products, following what officials described as 2 historic and highly productive days of meetings focused on strategically recalibrating bilateral ties. This shift began in the fall, when both Canada and China were facing heavy U.S. tariffs and started moving closer together economically. On electric vehicles, Canada will now allow up to 49,000 Chinese EVs into its market at a tariff rate of 6.1%, restoring pre-2024 levels after Ottawa had matched Washington by imposing steep tariffs last year.
The government expects this move to attract investment, create jobs, strengthen Canada's EV supply chain, and raise the cap to 70,000 vehicles within 5 years, with more than half priced under $35,000, making EVs more affordable for Canadian consumers. On agriculture, China had retaliated against Canada's EV tariffs by effectively shutting Canadian canola out of its market, contributing to a 10.4% drop in exports last year. Under the new deal, China will lower tariffs on Canadian canola seed from 85% to about 15% by March 1st, while canola meal and peas will face no tariffs at least until the end of the year. The Canadian government says these changes could unlock nearly $3 billion in new export orders for Canadian businesses.
Prime Minister Mark Carney said the new trade framework is designed to grow even further, creating clear expectations for expanded exports across canola, other grains, pulses, lobster, beef, pork, pet food, and more, marking not just a return but a strengthening of Canada's role as a key agricultural partner for China. While critics describe this as Canada moving closer to China and further from the United States, the government stresses that the shift is the result of months of sustained engagement, including multiple federal and provincial level visits dating back to October. International media reaction has been swift, with outlets like the Associated Press, The New York Times, and Bloomberg framing the deal as a clear break with the United States, a narrative that raises questions about how Washington will respond. Attention is now focused on how Donald Trump may react to headlines highlighting Canada's claim that its relationship with China has become more predictable than with the U.S. Addressing those concerns, Carney said the agreement must be viewed in the context of building the next phase of Canada's auto industry, developing future-focused vehicles in partnership, delivering more affordable cars for Canadians at a time of rising cost pressures, and managing the transition at a scale that ensures stability and long-term growth for the sector. Prime Minister Mark Carney largely sidestepped direct questions about political fallout, but concerns are already emerging both in the United States and at home, particularly from Canada's auto industry and from Ontario, where the provincial government is expected to respond. Carney emphasized that the agreement includes a built-in review after 3 years, giving Canada the opportunity to assess whether the deal has delivered the economic benefits it was designed to achieve. He also stressed that Chinese electric vehicles covered under the agreement would represent only about 3% of Canada's auto market, a point meant to ease domestic concerns. At the same time, global context matters. Donald Trump is expected to meet Xi Jinping multiple times this year.
And Canada's move is unfolding alongside a broader international shift, with the UK Prime Minister set to visit China next week, followed by German leadership, signaling a wider push by Western countries to expand trade ties with Beijing. The deal is also being closely watched by Canada's fisheries sector. In Nova Scotia, where lobster is a cornerstone export, producers have struggled since China imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian seafood early last year. That tariff made Canadian lobster less competitive in Asian markets compared with U.S. lobster from Maine, despite being harvested from the same cold Atlantic waters. The new agreement raises hopes that easing trade barriers with China could restore access to a critical market and provide meaningful relief to coastal fishing communities.
Canadian seafood exporters are set to benefit significantly as China prepares to remove its 25% tariff on Canadian seafood starting March 1st. On the East Coast, lobster producers, particularly in Nova Scotia, have been hit hard by the tariff despite offering a higher quality product, with Chinese buyers forced to pay a premium and overall demand dropping by nearly 50%. The removal of the tariff is expected to restore access to the Chinese market and rebalance the trade relationship. Similar relief is expected on the West Coast in British Columbia, where about 90% of crab exports go to Asian markets, and producers have seen a 60% decline in demand, along with falling prices due to the same tariffs. With the tariffs set to be lifted, both lobster exporters in the East and crab fisheries in the West are welcoming the deal as a major positive shift for Canada's Atlantic and Pacific seafood industries.